What's up, peeps? Nick Battle, aka NinosCorner, man. Just got through watching the Last Dance documentary, episodes 9 and 10. What did you guys think about that? Well, I'm gonna tell you what I thought about it. What a series! What a series, man. Really details exactly how great Michael Jordan was. In my opinion, I always tell people my favorite player to watch is LeBron James. I think the greatest player of all time is Michael Jordan, with LeBron in second place to him. But Jordan is the greatest of all time, in my opinion. It just is what it is. Uh, this documentary, he came out and basically said, prior to the documentary coming out, that a lot of people are not going to like him after this documentary. I, I didn't take it that way. I took it as him being a competitor. There are a couple things in here that I didn't like, like that he did with the stuff with Scotty Burrell. I'm not a fan of somebody who was my teammate, somebody who was my comrade in war, calling me out of my name, the garden tool, the female dog things, and things like that. Nah, that's not me. Wouldn't happen to me. That's not motivation. It is what it is. But the rest of the documentary I thought was well played. Jordan was the most competitive superstar that we've ever seen. Um, he was a guy that winning fueled him. And he would do anything he had to do in his mind to psych himself up to go beat you. Uh, you know, just a story about Byron Russell. About Byron Russell when he said that he retired. The Jazz were playing the Bulls. The Jazz are practicing in the Bulls facility. Jordan comes back into the locker room and into the gym to go talk to Karl Malone and Stockton, and some little fresh, wet behind the ear rookie, Byron Russell, comes and says, "Man, why did you retire, man? Why did you quit? I could guard you. Why did you quit?" And he said whenever he came back, he was going to get him. That was his mission. And boy, did he get him. Last shot as a Bull was the infamous shot heard around the world that brought the Bulls their sixth NBA championship. Game 6 in Salt Lake City. Jordan isolates the ball, gets the isolation. Pippen runs up the floor on the right hand side. Rodman cuts across and goes to the corner. Straight ISO ball. Jordan 1-on-1 against Byron Russell. Goes to the right, crosses over to the left. Byron Russell's momentum carries him. A lot of people say that they think Jordan pushed off. He didn't push him. He just barely gave him a love tap. Touches him barely. Byron Russell goes flying all the way to Jordan's right, which is Russell's left. Jordan pulls up for the shot. Nothing but the bottom of the net. Jordan stands on his tippy toes. The Bulls win the game. Byron Russell, next time keep your mouth shut. Way to go, man. Man, what a series, man. What a series this was. A 10-part series, 5 weeks, 2 episodes each series. Each week. Some key takeaways that I got from these last 2 episodes. Scottie Pippen gave Jerry Krause some credit, and he basically said that he was the greatest GM ever. Jerry Krause constructed those teams. The only player that he didn't put in those teams, guys, was Michael Jordan. And I know that's saying a lot, but to put the players around Jordan to succeed, a hell of a GM. Probably you guys are right. Pippen's probably right in that. Probably the greatest GM to ever be in pro basketball. To trade for Scottie Pippen, who had got drafted by the Supersonics, traded for him on draft night. Also got Horace Grant in the same draft. Him and Harvey Grant both came in. They were twin brothers. They came into the league. But Horace comes in. I think they got him at pick number 23 or so. Scotty they traded for. And you got the 2 cornerstones for that, for your trio, which is Jordan, Pippen, and Horace Grant for that first three-peat. And then you bring all the players around them. To go get a guy like Ron Harper for the second three-peat, which, guys, if you guys aren't basketball fans and you don't know who Ron Harper is, before Ron Harper blew his knees out, Ron Harper was a guy who could dunk the ball like Jordan. He was a guy who gave, him and Jordan went at it. Ron Harper was that guy. He flied above the rim. And he had to totally redefine his game when he blew his knees out. And he became like one of those big point guards that we have actually been accustomed to seeing. I wouldn't call him a point forward because he wasn't a forward. He was more of a two guard, but he was a big point guard. And so when the Bulls played in those second championships, in that second three-peat, when you had Ron Harper running the point, you had a huge lineup. Ron Harper running the point, who's 6'5", 6'6". Jordan running the two, who's 6'6". Pippen 6'8", running the three. The four was of course Rodman, 6'8", 6'9" guy, and then of course you got probably who's the sergeant, Luke Longley, so he's a 7-footer. So you had a huge lineup, especially for that time frame. With Ron Harper running the point, he can really play some defense too. And Ron Harper was that guy, man. So to get him on a cheap deal, basically to come play for the Bulls, to run point for 3 years, amazing. To go and get a Dennis Rodman, to go and get a Tony Kukoc, that he basically drafted the rights to Tony Kukoc and still let him play over there in Turkey. And after 2 or 3 years of season in Turkey, he brings him over to the Bulls, and he becomes like their guy off the bench. He becomes the sixth man. And when Jordan left for those 2 years, Kukoc was like the second or third guy in that team. So you had Kukoc, you had Pippen, and you had Horace Grant. And Kukoc was that guy also. So, kudos to Jerry Krause, and kudos to Pippen for acknowledging what Jerry Krause meant for that team. Jerry Krause constructed that team. Way to go. Jordan, the greatest. Pippen, oh man. You got to say one of the most unselfish superstars that we've seen too, because when Jordan actually left that year, guys, for those 2 years, Pippen led that team to 55 wins. Just think about that for a minute. So he, in his own right, he was being discussed for MVP of the league at that time. So you're looking at a guy who could have potentially been the MVP in that season, and he was the Robin to Batman, right? He was the Robin, and he played it so unselfishly. He was very selfless when it came to Jordan, because when great players see other great players, and that one is just like so far above everybody else, the gap between the alpha and the next alpha is so large that you have no choice but to be the beta. That's what Jordan was, and Pippen realized it, and he took that backseat, and he took it gracefully, and that's why I think Jordan always gives Pippen those props. If you guys recall, in his retirement speech, he gave 2 people props, and that was Pippen and Phil Jackson. Other things, just think of all the players. If you look at this special, the players that Jordan kind of stopped from getting championships, man, just the last 2 finals, Stockton and Malone. Those are 2 Hall of Famers. The finals, let's see, prior to that was, who was it? Was it Gary Payton and team? Yeah, so you had Gary Payton, that's a Hall of Famer. Charles Barkley was another guy who they played it, from the Western Conference that never got a championship. Clyde Drexler got his championship with Hakeem Olajuwon when Jordan left, because he went over to Houston. But who knows what would have happened in those 2 years. Patrick Ewing never got a championship. Reggie Miller never got a championship. Guys, these are all Hall of Famers. These are top 50 players to ever play this game. He stopped a bunch of Hall of Famers from getting championships. And I know that, I'm kind of forgetting some, but, like neither here nor there. But those are the guys that he put his foot on their throat and kept them from getting a championship. Some other shocking things that we kind of learned from this series was that Jerry Reinsdorf actually offered Phil Jackson the job and said, hey, if you want to come back for number 7, let's try it next year. But the team's going to be different. We're going to keep Jordan, we're going to keep you, but the players are getting a little bit older, and we're going to have to do a little bit of shuffling around to keep this team together. But let's go for 7. Let's rebuild. So I don't think Phil wanted any parts of that. But you know what, guys? Let's go to a small commercial break, and we're going to talk about this in depth, all right? All right, guys, and we're back. So, what I was saying was Jerry Reinsdorf offered Phil Jackson the job back. So I don't care what Jerry Krause said. Krause said, I don't care if you go 82-0, Phil Jackson will not be the coach here next year. Well, Reinsdorf said, hey, Phil, let's do it. But if we're going to do this, I want to keep you and I want to keep Jordan. But I think Pippen, I think Rodman, I think Steve Kerr, I think they're too old to get the money that they want. And so if we're going to bring this along for one more ride, I got to rebuild around Michael. And I'm going to trade some of these guys so that I can get some assets for them. And we're going to build a championship team again. And with the track record of Jerry Krause as far as picking players, that could have happened. We never will know if that will happen or if that could have happened. So it just ended the way that it ended. But I kind of understand where Reinsdorf was coming with this, and I definitely understand where Jordan was coming. Jordan's like, hey, we just won 6 titles in 8 years. In the 2 years that we didn't win it, I was gone. I know we're not getting any younger. However, Jordan said this. He said, if you'd have told Steve and Dennis and Scotty to come back for one more year on a 1-year deal, they would have done it for, like to try to get that number 7. Now he said Scotty would have taken some kind of convincing to get Scotty to come back. But I think he would have done it. Now this is where I don't know if I totally agree with that. Scotty left. Well, he didn't left. He got traded to Houston. And when he got to Houston, guys, his salary almost quadrupled. So money talks, BS walks, right? We all, kind of know that expression. I mean, Scotty was only making $2.8 million that year that they won a championship, 97-98 season. The 98-99 season, that one season he had in Houston, Scotty made $11 million, guys. I mean, you're talking about a guy who had been in the league now for how many years was that? From 88 to so 11 years, 12 years, and had never made no more than $3.4 million throughout his whole career. So in this season, he made $2.8 million, and which was 132nd highest paid player in the league, something like that. So the Bulls were getting away with highway robbery with Scotty. So now, towards the end of your career, this is the time where you need to start making your money if you have the opportunity to do it. And Scotty had the opportunity, so he got traded to the Rockets, and he ended up getting paid like $11 million that year. And then he went to the Blazers, and he got paid, like $14.8 million, and $13.8 million, and $18 million, and $19.8 million. So, Scotty, it was due time for Scotty to get paid, and that's why Jordan made that statement that I don't know. It would have taken some convincing to get Scotty to come back, but he thinks it could have happened. That's a big if because, like I said, guys, this is a time where Scotty made more in 1 year in Houston than he did. Let's look this up. The last 4 years in Chicago, and he won, let's say, 3 championships in those 4 years, and yeah, he won 3 championships. In those 4 years, he won 3 championships, and he got paid less in those 4 years combined than he got paid for the 1 year he was in Houston. So, I don't know if that would have happened. I don't know if Scotty would have came back because it was time for him to get paid, which is sad to say that somebody who's been in the league almost 12 years and who's one of the greatest players of all time, one of the top 25 greatest players of all time, it's time for him to get paid 12 years into his career. Would Dennis have come back? Probably, if the price was right. But I don't know if money fueled Dennis like that because he had so many other things going on at that time, guys. You guys remember the WWF incident where he left practice and didn't come. Well, he didn't show up to practice, and he was filming a WWF episode during the finals. It's crazy. Dennis had a lot of things going on off the court that I think. I don't think the money would have been the motivating factor, but I know for Scotty it probably would have because he was a superstar and he deserved to get paid like one. So I don't know if it would have happened that way, but we also got to look at this too, guys. We can't get mad at Jerry Reinsdorf and we can't get mad at Jerry Krause for wanting to rebuild and I guess get rid of some of the players that were older. Scotty's a different beast. I would have paid Scotty. Scotty would have never wore another uniform than a Chicago Bulls uniform. And I would have ride or died with Jordan and Pip. But that's just me. Some players should be loyal to. But we can't be mad at Krause and Reinsdorf for doing what they were trying to do. You keep the best player and you rebuild around the best player. We applaud the Patriots for doing this, right, guys? We applaud Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft for doing this. They get rid of Hall of Fame players all the time, as long as they have their guy, which was Tom Brady. They had Brady all those years, but they got rid of a bunch of Hall of Fame players or all pro players to assure that they didn't ever pay players late. You never pay players a bunch of money after they're not worth that money. That's what the Patriots, they never did. And I think that's what Jerry Krause was wanting to do, was not pay players that don't pay players for their name and their reputation. Pay them for their performance. And yes, Pippen and Rodman were still performing at a high level, but I don't think he wanted to give those guys a huge contract towards the end of their career. And this is what it is. So we can't sit here and diss Krause when we, praise the Patriots for doing the same thing. The Patriots kept their superstar and they built around and won 5 championships in football, which is so hard to do, with Tom Brady. They got rid of a guy like Randy Moss, right? Hall of Famer. They got rid of a Richard Seymour, they got rid of, so Gronk's gone now, but I wouldn't say that they got rid of him, but they got rid of the Detroit Browns. Once Corey Dillon got a Super Bowl championship with them, they let him go. They constantly replace players and never overpay for players past their prime. And I think that's what Jerry Krause was trying to do. He didn't want to overpay for these players past their prime, even though they were some of the greatest players to ever lace up a pair of Nikes or Reeboks or Adidas for the Chicago Bulls. However, things are different. Basketball is a team sport, but it's one of the more individualistic team sports, meaning that it's not like football where you truly count on all 11 players to move in a single direction and actually move in harmony to create a great play. Basketball, you can have some one-on-one matchups, like with that last play against Utah when Jordan hit the game winner in Game 6. Everybody just got out the way and let Jordan do his thing. That's ISO ball. So you don't need your teammates around. There was basically one-on-one ball right there. So it's one of the more individualistic team sports that are out there. So he could have possibly got away with it, but I'm like Jordan on this one though. I would have wanted to see what would happen. Bring those teams back. They just dismantled the Utah Jazz, who swept the Lakers in the previous round. They swept them in the previous round, and they just dismantled them. I think they won by 42 points in Game 2. Utah was at 54-96. Utah scored 54 points in the finals game. Lowest point total in the shot clock era in the history of basketball. Not playoff basketball, history of basketball. So that's what Jordan and them were still doing to teams. So it would have been very interesting, but the Eastern Conference was getting very tough. And the Pacers took them to 7 games. New York was still tough, but Jordan's still Jordan. So I'm kind of with Jordan on this one. But, man, what a great series. What a great series, guys. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I watched every episode every Sunday with the family. Even let my kid stay up to watch it. He's 5 years old, and he's just sitting there watching in amazement. So, what do you guys think about this series, man? What do you guys think about it? Was Jordan the greatest? Does this series prove to people who never watched Jordan that he was that guy? Because I watched him. Anytime Jordan was on TV, I watched him. And I get the same effect when I watch LeBron. I have to watch LeBron anytime he's on TV. So those are my 2 favorite guys. All right, so what an amazing series. But things happen for a reason. Things do happen for a reason. And it was just meant to be. Jordan won 6 championships in 8 years. It was just meant to be. It was meant to be. So, there always can be a bunch of what ifs. Like, what if this happened? What if this happened? What if this happened? You know, Jordan says he hates that it ended when he was still at his peak. He would have liked to have one more shot. But, hey, it ended the way it ended because that's the way it was supposed to end. Jordan won 6 championships in 8 years, 6 MVPs in those championships. And he will forever be remembered in a Bulls uniform with the last shot being the game winner to win game 6 in the 6th championship for the Bulls. What a way to walk away from the Bulls. What a way to retire. Winning in the game shot, hitting the game shot. So it happened for a reason. It happened the way it was supposed to happen. And it happened because it was like perfection. And that's the way that we remember our stars. We always want to remember our stars on top. We remember John Elway winning 2 Super Bowls in a row and then retiring. We remember Jordan winning 6 championships in 8 years and retiring before coming back with the Wizards. I don't even count the Wizard years, guys. I'm just talking about those Bulls years. That's how we remember Jordan walking away from the game. And that's the way it should be remembered. And the way that this ended, the way that dynasty ended, as a sports fan, I'm going to be selfish and say, oh, man, I wish I would have seen more of it. God, Jordan was amazing. Yeah, I do. But all good things have to come to an end. And this one came to an end the way it did. And it makes sense. It makes sense. And it benefited all parties involved. Pippen got paid at the end, going to Houston and then going to Portland. Jordan, basically after that game 6 and that 6th championship, basically he cemented himself as the greatest. Rodman showed how important he is and how important defense is and how important a player of his stature is, and that for as good as Jordan was on the offensive side of the ball, Rodman was good on the defensive side of the ball. And he was able to go, and I think Rodman got paid a couple other places. I think the Lakers and the Mavs. And Kerr ended up going to San Antonio and winning some championships there. Ron Harper ended up going to the Lakers to win the championships. And then Phil Jackson ended up doing it all over again with the Lakers, winning 5 other championships with the Lakers, with a Shaq and Kobe. So everything happens for reasons. The Bulls still haven't recovered from that. They almost recovered with the Derrick Rose years. And if Derrick Rose wouldn't have gotten injured, my God, he was an amazing guy. But it ended the way it's supposed to end, guys. And it ended, I think, in the perfect fashion with Jordan hitting that game winner. And that's how we're always going to remember Jordan in the Bulls uniform, is hitting the game-winning shot in Game 6. Gotta love it. But on that note, guys, it's getting late. I love you guys, man. If you guys like what you're hearing, man, please like and subscribe. Give me those 5-star comments and reviews. I greatly appreciate it. And NinosCorner is out, guys. But like I always say before I end these things, man, do you guys. Don't be afraid to fail. Outgrow your environment. Understand your brilliance, man. Do you. NinosCorner, I'm out. Your boy's about to go to bed. Audi 5000.